I had my gallbladder and gallstones removed here in Japan, and I didn't even pay a single yen. Let's talk about how it happened in this episode of the Beige Couch Sessions. If you're new here, hello, welcome. I'm the Headless Expat. In this video podcast, I share real life experiences here in Japan as a foreign worker. So if you're interested in moving or living here in Japan, this video podcast is for you. By the end of this video, I hope you will have an idea or some tips on how to avoid gallbladder problems. And if ever you're also an expat here in Japan, maybe this video will give you an idea of the possible financial costs and how the healthcare workers deal with the situation. So first, how did my gallbladder and gallstone problem start? To be honest, I really don't know, but I do admit I never had healthy eating habits. Since high school, I've experienced many episodes of stomach acid problems and heartburn. And this usually occur after eating a lot, especially dairy, oily, and or spicy food. At that time, I would feel like a gradual pain from my stomach going up to my chest. And whenever this happened, I would always think that I would die from a heart attack. But after taking antacids, I felt the heartburn subsided. So I continued with my unhealthy eating habits, thinking that antacids will remedy the situation. Last January 23rd, 2024, I had the worst stomach acid pain that I couldn't sleep and had to go out at 5 a.m. to buy some antacids from a nearby drugstore. Luckily, there was one that was open 24 hours in my previous neighborhood here in Kyoto, but that Japanese brand of antacid wasn't so helpful. In fact, I vomited a lot after I took it and I developed a fever. So I decided to go to the clinic that I frequently visited in Osaka. Talking about this gives me like flashbacks on how uncomfortable the train ride was from Kyoto to Osaka. I had to stand up for almost an hour to get to the clinic and I was holding on to my stomach because it was really painful. It was bloated and I felt like vomiting or going to the toilet. Yeah, it was that uncomfortable. Now, the doctor in Osaka saw how bloated my stomach was and it was really abnormally hard to touch. So he took an ultrasound and that's when he saw there were a lot of gallstones there. He advised me to have them removed along with my gallbladder, which at first I hesitated because I just wanted a stronger dose or a more powerful dosage type of antacid. But he explained that if I have another stomach acid attack, the gallstones might cause more complications or even blockage, so I didn't really have a choice. I was already in physical pain, but I was also stressing mentally because where in the hell would I, get funds for this operation? Being an expat who has little knowledge of the Japanese language, I felt like I was doomed. But my supervisors were kind enough to assist me in looking for a hospital with English speaking staff, and they also mentioned that I would be getting financial support. Despite the assurance of, getting financial aid, I still save up some money and I had a series of hospital consultations and was advised to at least prepare 100,000 yen. So good thing my operation was scheduled sometime in March, like the last week of March. So that gave me around 2 months to save up money for the whole surgery. And while saving up and while waiting for my surgery date, I made sure to be very careful in what I ate so that I could avoid another stomach acid episode. Now, fast forward to my surgery day, everything went well. I went for a day and a half without food after the surgery. It was painful to just, lie flat on my hospital bed. And it was emotionally draining as well because I was alone. In the Philippines, if someone in my family gets sick or gets hospitalized, there would always be like someone who stays with the patient in the hospital. Actually, I wasn't really alone in the hospital room because I chose a shared room There were 6 hospital beds in that room. That was the cheapest, so I chose that one. And maybe during that time, there were also around 5 or 4 other patients, and they were all old men. And it was really creepy at night because sometimes one of the patients would like talk to himself, and some of them would even like cough. We're like inside one room. So that made me decide to like ask the nurse for some sleeping pill because I really couldn't sleep for like full stay there because of the noise and the anxiety. So yeah, that was really mentally draining for me. And I wish there was someone from my family or friends who could have stayed with me during my vulnerable state. But if I think of it, I am still lucky because I experienced all of this here in Japan, and the health system here is way better than the Philippines. And this is not to discredit the healthcare workers in the Philippines because I have high respect for them. I believe they really work hard. In fact, most of my relatives are healthcare workers. It's just that they are not paid that well, or they don't have access to state of the art facilities in order to provide better care for their patients. I might get hate comments for this, but that's somehow the reality in the Philippines. If you can't afford hospitalization, chances are you need to line up at a public hospital before you can get admitted. So that's what happened to my father, and we actually went to a private hospital, but still it took like 12 hours for him to be admitted when he had minor stroke. So somehow that's the good thing about this situation. I experienced all of this here in Japan, despite being away from my family. So again, I'd like to say that I have high respects for all Filipino healthcare workers. It's just that they are not well paid and they're overworked. I don't know what's the reason for this. It could be a budget issue, a mismanagement issue, or governance issue. I really don't know. You tell me in the comments what you think. And when I got discharged, I went home alone. Bringing a duffel bag, and I went home by train. And Kyoto is always packed with tourists, so I was heavily bandaged in my stomach area because of the operation, and I just went home by myself, bringing a duffel bag with all my personal belongings. Luckily, my stomach, the bandage part, didn't really there was no bleeding, despite the fact that I had to carry a heavy bag and walk to the station and to my apartment. The hospital didn't even require me to pay for everything when I was discharged. I was just told that they are still settling the bill and I would just have to pay a week after during my post-op consultation. At first, I thought I was being pranked, and I was scared that, the police might come after me for going home without paying the hospital. But anyway, despite the sadness I felt before, during, and even after the surgery, I am thankful all of this happened in Japan because I was treated with utmost care despite the language barrier and cultural difference. Another good thing that happened was that I got my money back, actually even more. So if I remember it correctly, I paid around 95,000 or 96,000 yen to cover the hospitalization, the surgery, the meals, the amenities I use, and even the post-op consultation at the hospital. But in less than 2 weeks, I received around 114,000 yen of refunds covering all those things, plus the clinic visits that I had in January 2024. The hospital consultation was also reimbursed, surgery and post-op. The refunds were made possible due to the insurance of the employment program that I am in. And if you're interested, I actually am part of this teaching and exchange program here in Japan. So that's one of the benefits for us here. Under this program, if we get sick, we are actually covered by this insurance. Also, a month after getting 114K of refunds, I received another 58,000 reimbursement from the health insurance contributions that I have been paying or have been deducted from my payroll since I started working here in Kyoto City. It was great receiving a lot of reimbursements, but I wouldn't like to be in the same situation. I wouldn't want to suffer from another serious or even a minor illness. I try to avoid overeating, but I admit I don't always stay on track. I love eating and I love trying different food. In fact, I have a different channel where I showcase silent vlogs, ASMR videos about the food that I try here in Japan, the random trip, and the cafes that I visit. Yeah, like a silent lifestyle vlog. If you're interested in watching that one as well, I'll be linking it in the video description. But if you ask me what I did with the reimbursements, I actually booked a flight to Hokkaido and a hotel there so that I could spend the summer. That was like last summer. That's how I spent all the reimbursement. So this is how I got my gallbladder and gallstones removed here in Japan without paying a single yen. I had to pay at first, but all of those and even more were refunded to me. So if you're living in Japan or planning to move here, I highly suggest you sign up for the National Health Insurance System because this will save you in case a health emergency happens. The monthly health insurance contributions may be a substantial amount that's deducted from your salary, but again, they would be very helpful. They will come in handy in case you get sick or suffer from something serious, which I hope you won't experience. But have you also had gallbladder problems? If you feel comfortable talking about it, share your experience in the comments. And if ever you have any advice on eating healthy after getting your gallbladder removed, I'd love to read them in the comments as well. But for now, I'll see you in another episode of our Beige Couch sessions. Subscribe if you want more real life experiences here in Japan as an expat. Mata ne!